It always begins quietly, a small joke, but it cuts deep into your dignity. A glance held just a little too long, heavy with judgment. A smirk, subtle but loaded with contempt. Everyone senses it, even if no one will name it. Sometimes it's just a pause, a cold silence right when you needed someone to stand with you. There's no shouting, no obvious insult. Just that aching feeling, like an electric current crawling beneath your skin. You know you've just been measured. You laugh it off. You tell yourself it's nothing. Be the bigger person. Don't react. Stay calm. But in that moment, everyone in the room is watching you. Not just to see what you'll tolerate, but to decide who you are in their world. Because in every room, boundaries are being tested. Disrespect is never about words. It's about what they believe you won't do. It's not personal. It's a test. A whisper asking, "Can I cross this line? And will you let me?" Most people choose silence, thinking that's maturity. They believe that by not reacting, they win. But Machiavelli saw a harsher truth. Respect isn't something you receive. It's something you enforce. The person who stays quiet without power is not seen as noble, but as safe. And in a world obsessed with dominance, safe is a first step to being invisible. Here's the brutal truth. When you ignore disrespect, you quietly approve it. And the price you pay is your own value. So when every eye turns to you, when the smile cuts sharp, when your presence is tested, what will you do? Will you let others draw the lines? Or will you become the legend who rewrites the rules for everyone in the room? Have you ever let one moment of silence steal your value? Or did you draw a line? Did the room remember you? The first test, when silence becomes surrender. Disrespect rarely arrives as an explosion. More often, it slips in quietly. A shift in energy, a laugh that lingers just a second too long after your words, a forgetful glance as if you barely exist. Most people never notice the first test, not because they're blind, but because they've been taught to ignore the smallest wounds. From childhood, you're told, don't make a scene, let it go, be agreeable, keep the peace. But in every group, at work, among friends, even at home, there's an unspoken game. Who gets interrupted? Who gets ignored? Who controls the temperature of the room? And who fades quietly into the background, pretending they're above it all while shrinking more every day? Disrespect is never just a single moment. It's an audition for the role you'll play in their story. The first test always feels small. Someone cuts you off in conversation. You let them finish. Someone jokes at your expense. You offer a polite smile. Someone dismisses your opinion. You nod, pretending it doesn't matter. But in that instant, the room watches. They are not listening to your words. They're learning from your permission. Here's the Machiavellian law. Respect is not given for being good. It's given for being clear, for having consequences. The second you accept a small disrespect, you silently mark yourself as safe to test. You think you're avoiding conflict, but you're starting a cycle. No one respects what's always available. No one values what's always agreeable. You become the easy target, the man who never pushes back, the woman who never corrects the record. And as this label settles over you, your presence begins to shrink, even if you're still in the room. But here's the brutal truth. People don't test you because they hate you. They test you because they need to know, where does your world begin and end? If you never show them, they will redraw your map for you. You may think you're keeping the peace, but you're only keeping the cycle alive. Every time you laugh at what hurts, every time you let something slide you should confront, you teach the group a lesson. Your discomfort is invisible. Your absence would barely be noticed. Your voice is background noise. This is how the first test sets the rules for years to come. Let it slide once, and you may spend a lifetime trying to reclaim what you gave away in a second. But draw the line, even quietly, and you may never need to explain yourself again. The difference isn't what you say, it's what you allow. Pause for a moment. How many times have you felt the sting of a joke, but force yourself to be the bigger person? How many meetings have you been interrupted and told yourself you don't need the spotlight? How many relationships have you suffered through, believing patience would earn you respect? Machiavelli would call this the death of presence. He knew the one who accepts the first disrespect invites the second and the third, until finally they become invisible in their own life. The world is watching. People learn not from your speeches, but from your posture, from your reactions, from your willingness to hold the line, even if you stand alone. So the question is simple. When that first test comes, what will you do? Will you let it slide, hoping your silence is wisdom? Or will you plant your feet, letting your presence become the line no one wants to cross? Because the boundaries you enforce in the first test become your reputation for a lifetime. The unwritten contract. How silence signs away your power. Every group, every relationship runs on contracts that nobody signs. No one says them out loud, but they control everything. Who gets interrupted? Who gets challenged? Who's included? Who is quietly pushed aside? The contract is written in moments so small, most people never see it. You might think that ignoring the first offense makes you wise. You tell yourself, it's nothing. Don't make it awkward. Be easygoing. But every time you swallow your discomfort, every time you smile through pain, you're signing away another piece of your presence. Picture this. You're at a table with friends or colleagues. Someone throws a sharp joke your way. It stings. You force a smile. Laughter moves on. No one pauses. No one checks if you're okay. Why? Because in that moment, you taught the room exactly how to treat you. You just signed a contract. You can do this to me and I'll stay. No one says it out loud, but it becomes a new rule. The next time, the line moves further. A sharper joke, a colder comment, a more public test. With every silent acceptance, the invisible contract grows thicker. Not written with ink, but with your silence. Centuries ago, Machiavelli warned, men are quick to offend when they do not fear consequence. It's not personal, it's structural. If the price for disrespect is nothing, disrespect becomes routine. But there's another layer, one most people never see. Permission spreads. The way one person treats you becomes a lesson everyone else learns. A co-worker watches you being ignored in a meeting. He thinks he's used to it. It doesn't bother him. A friend hears someone mock you. She joins in, not to hurt, but because the contract says it's allowed. It ripples out, turning one moment into a pattern and a pattern into a social norm. And you think you're just being patient. Patience without boundaries is permission in disguise. The cost of the contract. Let's look at a real story. Imagine a man named Adam. He's always the agreeable one in his friend group, never causes drama, always says yes. One night, someone makes a cutting joke about his failures. It stings, but Adam laughs it off. He doesn't want to spoil the mood, but everyone notices. The message goes out, Adam's boundaries are soft. Next week, another friend pushes it further. Then it becomes a game. Who can tease Adam the hardest? Nobody hates him, but nobody respects him either. He's present, but his dignity is gone. The tragedy? Adam thinks he's protecting the group's peace. He's actually protecting his own role, the group's safe target. With each silent surrender, the invisible contract gets more unbreakable. But there's always a turning point. The moment Adam finally says, "That's enough," the whole dynamic shifts. The laughter dies. The room feels colder. Some friends drift away. But those who stay see Adam differently. Respect gets recalibrated, not by speeches, but by his willingness to risk comfort for self-worth. This is the Machiavellian truth. You're never rewarded for what you endure. You're rewarded for what you refuse to allow. Every tolerance is a signed agreement, a message to everyone. This is who I am. This is how you can treat me. It's never too late to rewrite the contract. But the longer you wait, the higher the price. And if you never do, the cost is your identity, your role in every room for the rest of your life. Remember, permission is powerful, but so is its opposite. A single refusal, one firm line, can erase years of invisibility. Did your silence ever sign a contract you never wanted? Is there one moment you wish you refused? Share below. Who else needs to see how power fades? The art of strategic silence. How to freeze a room without saying a word. Not all silence is the same. Some silence makes you smaller. It says, I accept this. It lets you disappear. But there's another kind of silence, one that stops a room, one that makes everyone uneasy, a silence that demands respect without a single word. This is the Machiavellian response, the art of turning stillness into strategy. When someone crosses a line, most people expect one of two things. One, they want your anger, because anger is predictable. It's easy to dismiss. They can spin it back on you. Two, or they want your compliance, because that's safe, forgettable. It confirms their power. But there's a third option, one that changes the rules instantly. Strategic silence. Not passive, not awkward, but cold, precise, intentional. Picture this. Someone tries to cut you down in front of others. They expect you to defend yourself, to joke it off, to play along. But you do none of that. You simply lock eyes. You don't smile. You don't react. You let the silence grow heavy. You hold the pause longer than anyone expects. The laughter fades. The air gets colder. Everyone feels the shift. You don't say a word, but your message is deafening. This is the moment of power. Machiavelli understood. Never give people your emotions. Never let them predict your next move. Emotional outbursts are the currency of the powerless. But the person who becomes unreadable, who makes others doubt, who stands calmly in the storm, is the one who takes control. Why does this work? Because unpredictability is power. When people don't know how you'll respond, they hesitate. And in hesitation, respect is born. You become a mirror. Let them see their own actions bounce back at them. Hold your posture. And when the moment is right, speak with surgical clarity. Did you mean that? Would you like to repeat that for everyone? You're not counterattacking. You're inviting them to own their words, to make their disrespect public. Most people won't dare. Disrespect is cowardly. When forced into the open, it usually retreats. Everyone feels the tension. The room recalibrates. The power has shifted, not by volume, but by the weight of your presence. Let's look at a real case. A man is targeted by a colleague at a meeting, a sarcastic jab. He doesn't laugh. He turns, locks eyes, and asks, "Was that meant as feedback or just an attempt at humor?" Silence. The attacker shrinks. No fight, no drama, just presence. But there's a deeper layer. You must be consistent. If you fall back into softness, if you laugh it off later, they'll test you again. Your silence, your questions, your distance must become your new standard. Withdraw your energy. Let your absence speak louder than any defense. Don't try to get back to normal. Reframe the relationship. Let them feel what it's like to lose your warmth, to be outside your circle. People crave belonging. Losing access is often the harshest punishment. This is the Machiavellian principle. Respect isn't demanded, it's engineered. You make your energy unpredictable. Your presence becomes rare. You become the terrain, not just another player. Long after, people don't say, "He gets angry." They say, "You never know what he's thinking. He doesn't tolerate disrespect." Your silence becomes your armor, your shield, your weapon. Have you ever used pure silence to freeze a room? Did it shift the power? Share your moment. Show what real presence looks like. The disproportionate consequence. Why playing fair makes you weak. Most people believe in fairness. They want to answer disrespect in equal measure. A cold word for a cold word. A joke for a joke. An eye roll for an eye roll. But Machiavelli would laugh at such predictability. He knew if the punishment matches the crime, it's forgettable. But if the consequence is greater, it becomes legend. This is the art of the disproportionate consequence. Not emotional outbursts, not public drama, but reaction so final, so unexpected. It leaves a mark long after the moment ends. What does this look like? It means that when someone crosses you, especially after you made the rules clear, you do not argue. You do not beg for respect. You do not try to fix the relationship. You simply subtract yourself. Imagine this. Someone tests your boundary in front of others. They expect you to fight, to defend, to joke it off. Instead, you grow colder. Your answers shrink to one word. Your energy moves elsewhere. You are polite but formal, unreachable at first, Only the offender notices. But then the whole group feels it. The atmosphere shifts. People get quieter. The person who crossed you realizes they've not only lost your attention, they've lost access to your world. This isn't revenge. It isn't cruelty. It's power by absence. Because humans crave connection. They want to belong. When you take that away, when your presence is no longer available, the punishment is felt in the silence you leave behind. A real example. A rising manager is disrespected publicly by a team member. Instead of a showdown, she stops inviting him to key meetings, responds to emails with polite but brief formality. No anger, no gossip, just ice-cold clarity. Within weeks, the offender feels a chill. So does the whole team. Everyone understands. Her time, her trust, her approval, all can be lost with a single violation. This is the disproportionate consequence. You don't explain it. You don't have to justify it. You let the discomfort do the talking. Machiavelli knew this was the fastest way to shift group dynamics. A public mistake deserves a public lesson. Not to humiliate, but to educate. To make others think twice before testing you again. Here's a twist. When you use this principle, others begin to enforce your boundaries for you. They warn newcomers. Don't try that with her. He doesn't tolerate disrespect. Your absence becomes a warning. Your distance becomes a rule. But there's a deeper psychological effect. Those who lost your access will often try to win it back. They may apologize, try to joke with you, ask for another chance. The Machiavellian move? Not to lash out, not to grant easy re-entry, but to remain unchanged. No bitterness, no grudge, just a new reality where their status is permanently altered. This isn't about being cold for the sake of ego. It's about showing that boundaries are not negotiable. Your value is self-enforced. Disrespect costs more than anyone wants to pay. Over time, your disproportionate consequences become part of your legend. People move carefully, not out of fear, but out of certainty that your presence is earned, never assumed. The lesson is simple. You don't have to punish every offense. But when you do, make it unforgettable. Not with noise, not with anger, but with discipline. Subtraction. What is the harshest consequence you ever enforced? Did your absence change the rules? Share your story. How does subtraction become legend? The social chess move, outplaying chronic boundary pushers without words. Some opponents don't respond to normal rules. Not the opportunist who backs off after the first boundary, but the disruptor, the one who keeps pushing, testing, probing because their ego feeds on chaos. They don't want your approval. They want control. When the standard playbook fails, it's time to level up, to play social chess, not emotional war. The disruptor's game. The old you might have tried to out-argue them, win the group to your side, rally support against them. But Machiavelli would warn, never wrestle with pigs. You both get dirty and the pig likes it, so you shift the field. You stop playing the emotional game. You play the social one. Imagine this, a notorious disruptor. Let's call him Victor, keeps mocking you in front of your team. First time, you withdraw warmth. Second time, you respond with cold silence. But Victor is a gladiator. He wants drama. He wants to show the group he can get under your skin. This is your moment. You do not give him the fight. Instead, you shine a spotlight on him. When Victor throws his next joke, you calmly ask, loud enough for everyone to hear. That's an interesting comment. Do you speak to your manager that way too? Or, if you talk to friends like that, how do you treat your clients? You're not arguing. You're reframing. You're making Victor own his behavior in front of the group. The laughter dies. The room shifts. People exchange glances. Victor stands alone in his aggression. He wanted attention. He gets exposure. Now the group is asking, why does Victor keep pushing? What's he trying to prove? He loses his shield of group approval. Now, he's the outlier, not you. A real workplace case. A woman faces a chronic boundary crosser at work. She's tried. Private warnings. Withdrawing. He keeps pushing. This time, she addresses her manager in front of the team. I appreciate your support in keeping our work environment professional. Suddenly, the disruptor's behavior is everyone's problem. The group recalibrates. The disruptor is isolated. His reputation is tarnished. This is escalation by exposure. You use the disruptor's hunger for drama against him. Key points. 1. Never get personal. 2. Never raise your voice. 3. Simply refuse to hide the conflict. Let the social current do the work. Machiavelli called this killing with clarity. No emotion, no spectacle, no feud, just strategic social repositioning. The art of restraint. If you overplay your hand, if you become the villain, you lose the room. Your silence, your precision must always be wrapped in professionalism, unshakable calm. The lesson: when someone refuses to respect a line, don't just defend it. Turn the line into a spotlight. Let them become the warning. An example of what happens when boundaries are ignored. Over time, even persistent disruptors face a choice. Adapt, become irrelevant. You don't destroy them. You let their own behavior do the work. This is social chess at the highest level. You don't demand respect. You make disrespect so public, so costly that the group itself enforces your boundary. Have you faced someone who never stopped testing you? How did you outplay them?